I have just started working on a CNC mill project that I've had in storage for about 8 years or so. I never got to finish it because of a move. And I was soldering up some wiring harnesses for the steppers, the X, Y, and Z steppers with this soldering iron. I wanted to move the stand, so I, without thinking about it, just reached over and grabbed the stand to move it. Well, my thumb, it caught the soldering iron and I burned it pretty good. And that got me to thinking about what causes the most accidents in the shop. And it's not really what you think it is. And that's what this video is about. If you're new to my channel, I'm Jeremiah. I've been in the workshop for about 30 years. From woodworking to aerospace, and I'll be your guide to the workshop jungle. So let's get to it. About every shop accident that I've heard about and that have happened to me has begun with, I was in a hurry. Just like in the story that was in the beginning of the video here, I was in a hurry to move the soldering iron. And that got me to thinking about some things. The most dangerous time is not really when you're a beginner. When you're a beginner, you're kind of, you're aware of everything, and you might not know some things, but what you do know, you carry through with, and you're always aware of something being on, and so you're extra careful. The most dangerous time is when you get comfortable with those things and you start to think about other things, or you start listening to the music a little too much while you're using them. And that's when that accident will happen. It's when your focus slips from using that tool and being in the moment to something else. The same thing happened to me. I had a table saw accident, and I was doing a job for somebody, and I was cutting blocking, and I was in a small shop, and I was using a little table saw, and I was pushing stuff through the table saw for the blocking, and I was coming around and pulling it. It was getting late in the day, and I was not thinking about what I was doing, because by then I was using that table saw for, I've been using table saws for years, so I wasn't really thinking about it. And so when I came around and pulled it through, it kicked back, it threw my right hand through the blade, and it gave me a pretty serious cut that required surgery to fix. Luckily, I didn't lose my finger. But that was another time where I wasn't necessarily a beginner, but I knew enough to be dangerous. And I think that's probably where that comes from. I knew enough to be dangerous. So that accident with the soldering iron just got me to thinking, I need to be more intentional and in the moment, especially as I'm getting older, so that I don't get hurt. And that's what I wanted to make this video for all the beginners out there, that you may get comfortable. You don't want to get too comfortable with the tools that you're using to where your mind slips. That's the most dangerous place to be, is when you get kind of cavalier around them, or your mind goes somewhere else. You're thinking of something else, and that's when you can get hurt. It's when I've seen guys push stuff through the table saw, and their fingers are literally an inch away from the blade. They're not a beginner. They've used it for several years. They're enough of a professional to be that comfortable around the blade, but their mind is kind of going somewhere else. For them, it's, you know, hey, you know, I can get it's some sort of cavalier thing. Get your, you know, fingers that close to the blade. And so that's my warning to all the beginners out there is, when you reach that point, when you're, you know enough to be dangerous, that's when you're dangerous. And hopefully, as I mature and get more professional in my working out in the shop, that I can become more intentional, and that's what I want to become, more intentional about what I'm doing. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to be intentional about things. And hopefully it gets you to thinking about your situation and keeping safer and hopefully all your fingers in your workshop. So the first thing is I learned from one of my first engineering jobs was a manufacturing facility. And I think they had a really good thing going. They had a 2-minute rule. And if something was dangerous enough to hurt you or kill you, like a lift, you know, using a crane, an overhead hoist, then it's worth thinking about it for 2 minutes. Think about what can go wrong. Think about how you're going to act around that piece of equipment. Think about your setup on your table saw. Just think about it. And that gets your mind in the moment. And also, I've got a video about the 4-inch rule around the table saw, and that gets you to thinking about that blade and stopping that blade before you get your fingers into that zone. And I'll put a link to that video in the description. And it's a rule that I came up with, and it is a no-break rule. So every time I'm at the table saw, I think of that. So every time you're in that situation, you need your mind to be in the zone so you don't get hurt, because you don't want to be knowing just enough to get hurt. So if you got something out of this video, or if you have a safety rule that you have in your workshop that you want to help others with, put it in the comments below and share. And if you like this video, please like or subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay safe out there.